Part three of Sumas Pub Prawns is road trips to Oakland. I was trying to remember how many trips I took with my dad, and sometimes my mom too, to Oakland. And I keep coming up short, confusing one trip with another. But one of the most salient of those trips was when my dad took the whole family to Disneyland. And that was right after I got my first pair of glasses and could see for the very best I'd ever been able to see up to that point in my life. They were these huge Coke bottle glasses. Even with index lenses, they were so heavy and they made my neck ache. I hated them. But now that people have discovered how bad my vision really was, no one was letting me run around without my glasses on. When Brenda first saw me in my glasses, which matched hers, she squealed with delight. She and I always had so much fun together and shared a lot of the same interests. Her sister Cicely was 2 years younger than us, but I liked hanging out with her too, because I only had brothers and mostly male cousins, and there weren't any little black girls where I lived in the small farming community where I grew up in Canada. Cicely was fascinated by my hair, and as it turned out, she grew up to be a hairstylist. She and Brenda were the very first people to braid my hair in cornrows. That happened during that Disneyland trip because my whole family was on that trip with me, and it wasn't just me and my dad. My baby brother was really young and probably doesn't remember, but my older brother would. He was super intimidated by Brenda's older twin brothers, who were the same age as him. And he tended to keep to himself with whatever handheld video game he had at the time. My older brother was always one to kind of miss out on opportunities and just sulk on his own. After they finished braiding my hair, they paraded me into the kitchen to show the family their handiwork. I loved it and thought I looked cute as hell. Carl chuckled and said they'd all have to start referring to me as their light-skinned play cousin. And I had no idea what he meant by that at the time, but I was very pleased with the outcome, and so was Brenda and Cicely. I have lots of memories from those trips, especially learning double dutch, which I got really, really good at, playing at the neighborhood park, and swimming at the neighborhood pool. I was a competitive gymnast at that time, and since Brenda and Cicely were so generous with sharing their talents with me, I shared mine with them. Cicely was a natural, and I had her doing handstands, cartwheels, and walkovers in no time. Brenda was a bit heavier and not as coordinated and didn't pick it up as easily. But we had other things in common, especially reading out loud to each other in our best storytelling voices. And Brenda also did theater, so she and I would run lines together and sometimes just do plays for the fun of it. There was also an ice cream shop that the three of us would visit close to a park where we'd play. Back then, our parents were still okay with kicking us out of the house to fend for ourselves so that the adults could talk without us kids listening in. Listening to my dad and Carl talk was another of our favorite things to do. But my most favorite thing of all that I got to do in Oakland was go to political rallies. That was where I first encountered the Black Panther Party and heard Bobby Seale and Huey P. Newton in person. I would sit on my dad's shoulders and take it all in. I was so impressed with their passion and conviction and community-driven sense of purpose. Yes, I was young and precocious, but I understood what they were saying, why they were saying it, and I fully supported their actions. By the time I was 14, I became fully immersed in political and social activism and studied the party and other similar movements closely. I wrote tons of papers, essays, speeches about the various activists I'd been encountering. I also developed a huge crush on Huey Newton, primarily because of his eloquence, how passionate he was about his life's work and what he was doing to uplift not just his people, but everyone. I also really liked the sound of his voice, that combination of Louisiana Southern drawl and Oakland's very distinct accent. But also, let's face it, he was a really attractive dude. On my 21st birthday, I got a Black Panther tattoo on my right hip, right at the bikini line, so that you only see it if I'm in a bathing suit or naked. And as it turns out, Huey Newton was murdered in Oakland less than 2 months later.